Als Feind des Vaterlandes. Die alte Phrase, die zum Glück noch immer mein Volke ihre wirkt. In Konstantinopel geboren, wie seltsam, studierte in Saint-Cyr, Soldat. die Herzen erobern, ein Adonis, ein kleiner Narziss. Du wirst nicht
to once. My husband, myself, and we had Craig, who was the second son. The first
Yeah.
was on the leash, and
Okay, welcome to tonight's town board meeting. Start off, I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would all join me in that. Pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance
flag
to the flag
of the United
United
States
States of America,
and to the republic
Republic,
to the republic,
which it
and
stands,
one
which is
nation
stands
nation,
under
under
God,
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 indivisible,
visible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
liberty,
and
justice.
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you. As you're aware, tonight is a continuation of our public hearing to amend the zoning text of the Mount Pleasant Town Code to permit solar facilities in the R20 district based on certain restrictions in the proposed local law 4-2020. Stephen, I didn't know if you wanted to open it up and make any comments before we open it up to the public? Is
Somebody,
Nick still there?
Yes, what's up?
Did Stephen want to make any comments before we open to the public?
You have to give me a last name.
Mr. KV,
No, I'm sorry. What about,
I have the name, Carl. I'll get it for you. From Con Edison,
Con Edison?
oh, okay,
Stephen Ondishin, if I'm
Right.
pronouncing that correct. And John Kirkpatrick is probably on. Are you having those two names, Nick?
I do not.
Amanda, I think you may have sent them the old.
No, I sent it. I can, let me email them right now. Hold on one second. Carl, I don't know if you want to maybe start with,
The comments?
public first, and then we'll have them jump on. Yeah, I'm gonna email them right now.
Yeah, we could do that. Anybody from the public want to make a comment? This is a public hearing. You're welcome to speak on it. I believe Nick has instructed anyone that wants to speak how to do it.
Yeah, so there's somebody named Stephen.
Stephen Cabby.
Stephen is our Conservation Advisory Chairman.
Yes, tell me if I gather I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Yep, please enable
Aye.
your video.
I thought I had, but I see I did not. There we go.
Thank you.
All righty, we're on.
You're on.
Good evening. Stephen Cabby, Chairman of the Town of Mount Pleasant Conservation Advisory Council. Thank you for another opportunity to review the code revisions, the zoning text amendment, I should say, and the revisions which I noted now include a provision for the use of native plants. I sent a letter to the board with some other comments, and I'd like to very quickly summarize 5 quick points that are in the letter. Specifically with regard to the definition of native plants, the current code refers to them as native perennial, and I think it's important to just simply delete the word perennial so it's not limited to only perennial plants. Further, there are some additional words that I included in the definition that gives a more broad-based opportunity to use a wider variety of plantings for the result of providing greater habitat value. The current definition strictly limits to pollinator, and it's important, I think, to have a wider definition so that all habitat values are incorporated and provided with the use of native plants. The other is, looking at my notes here, there's the specific terms of the maintenance of native plants and the landscaping scheme in general is important because native plants do require ongoing maintenance until they're fully established. By providing in the code for a specific minimum number of years of maintenance, we can get a greater opportunity for the success of the native plants well established against invasives. What I'd also like to recommend is that a 5-year maintenance be incorporated into the code with a provision that would require the possibility of at least ongoing annual review to determine whether additional maintenance is required over the years. the purpose of the landscaping plan is to mitigate against the loss of trees. If the landscaping plan is not fully maintained, and if after a few years, as I'm sure anybody knows with any backyard, within a period of time, invasives and other types of weeds are simply going to overtake the plantings. So it's important that this be part of the code, and ongoing maintenance with inspection is incorporated into that. The other part of the landscaping plan is that we like to see that the landscaping plan is reviewed by the town wetlands consultant, who also operates as a naturalist for the town. His expertise is not limited to wetlands. The wetlands code provides for wetlands consultants. In this particular case, the solar special amendment, zoning text amendment, should provide for the review of the landscaping plan by the wetlands consultant and the CAC. And excuse me, let me just look quickly again at my notes. Right, and that will again provide us with the best landscaping plan to produce the result that we're all looking for, which is to provide the mitigation against the loss of trees. I understand that the town is moving forward on this code. It's apparent that the board feels it's important. We're not in disagreement that it's important to see solar energy generated. As I stated in the last meeting, clear cutting this particular site is problematic, but the town appears to feel that this is offset by the production of solar energy. That's the decision of the town. So in reviewing this code, I think these are important additions and considerations so that we can offer the best environmental protection. Lastly, two other quick points. And that is that the applicant indicated that in their assessment, there were only 2 or 3 locations that would be suitable in the R20 with 10 or more acres that would make it be available for solar arrays. I think it's important for the town to have an independent assessment of that. I have no doubt that the applicant, in their best interest, is probably accurate, but I think the town should have a clear independent assessment so that before going forward on a code like this, we understand fully where in the town these applications may come through and understand what those impacts may be going forward. So we're not blindsided, so to speak. There are continued issues about the fact that solar arrays require clear cutting, and I think we need to understand that. My time is almost up, I gather. I think that's what the beep is. Either that or my chicken is almost finished in the oven. But I don't think it's the time. Last point, co-location is something I think that should be indicated in the code, and that is that where there's existing cleared areas, this would be the preference. This is the same way in which cell phone towers are co-located on existing structures. And lastly, we'd like to see that a full code along the NYSERDA model is incorporated for all tiers of solar. And I'm available if you have any questions from these comments. Thank you.
Stephen, thank you. Just a couple points on that. It's my understanding this particular property, the buffer is going to be maintained around the entire perimeter of this property, and areas that may not have a buffer, trees will be added there. I would imagine that we would ask that there would be like evergreens or something that stays green all year round to give the most protection, I guess, or buffer. Secondly, properties in town that may have 10 acres or more that could be conducive to this type of solar energy may not be practical, where the cost is building residential, like a residential development would be more practical in most of these cases than a solar farm. So I can't see where it being practical, aside from maybe another cemetery, pursuing such a site. The other residential properties that we have would be more conducive to residential development, in my opinion.
You're probably, I'm sorry, are you finished, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just respond very quickly. I don't disagree that it's more likely than not that areas in R20 of 10 or more acres are going to be more suitable for subdivision. But I think it's important for us to understand where those potential sites are, and I don't think there's any problem in getting a full assessment so that the town goes into this with eyes wide open. Lastly, with regard to the plantings, correct. The plan does call for a buffer of trees, but the idea is that the cleared area itself there would be no trees, obviously no trees, because that eliminates the efficiencies of solar. So instead of trees, as a mitigation against the loss of the forested land, the landscaping plan would call for native plants that provide for habitat value that is lost from the loss of the trees. So I just want to clear that you are correct, Carl, that the tree buffer would be evergreens and other native trees. And it's the interior portion in and around and surrounding, in this particular case, the wetlands area, and the areas around and perhaps even to some extent underneath these solar panels. This is commonly how these landscaping plans are done now in solar, and that is because, again, clear cutting trees is mitigated by the incredibly important habitat value that can be provided by putting in a native plant landscaping scheme.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else on there, Nick, that wanted to talk?
Yes, we do. And I just also want to make an announcement to anyone else interested in speaking during the public hearing. Please message me your name and address, or use the Zoom raise hand feature. Keep in mind your video must be enabled. I believe the next person to speak is Mr. Noonan.
He's muted.
Hold on, Mr. Noonan, 1 second. For some reason, his audio is not unmuting. There we go. You're good.
Okay, yeah, Ken Noonan, Valhalla. Regarding your proposed new law, paragraph C, subparagraph 1, regarding where the parcels where the arrays could be located, and I think this relates to what Mr. Cavey was talking about as well. My recollection from previous discussions was that one of the requirements was that the land be bounded on at least one side by a highway. And I think the thinking at that time was that this would prevent an array from being plopped in the middle of a residential area that would be more suited for residential development. Do you have the same recollection?
Yes, and this particular property does have that restriction on it.
Yeah, but I thought it was be part of the law so that any future proposals, the 10 acres would have to be bounded by a highway.
I'm just looking at my notes on it. Terry, should you read anything on that?
I'm looking at it now, the law up. You know, it's on at least 10 acres. Frontage totally within the unincorporated portion of the town. which parcels may be separated by a street or right of way. All arrays shall be designed, erected, and installed in accordance with applicable codes. Vehicular paths within the site shall be designed to minimize the extent of impervious materials. I don't know if the highway, I think maybe one of the other laws. I think that was the law that we were considering for Brightview, Mr. Noonan, the highway. I think that's what it was. It's a different law.
My recollection was it was for the solar arrays because we didn't want to have them plopped in the middle of a residential area.
The solar arrays, the only thing that was changed in the solar array law was some of the recommended revisions mentioned by the Environmental Conservation Board and also taken from the model law of NYSERDA. So there was never a proposal for a highway. The highway, I recall, was for the revision to the law for the placing the floating zone. Yeah, it was a different law.
Yeah, I don't have it in my notes with that original law.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll go back in my notes. I thought that was what was decided. Further, paragraph 13, subparagraph B, regarding removal requirements. It says that the abandoned property shall be removed by the property owner. Shouldn't the applicant be responsible for removing the installation from the property? Why is the property owner mentioned here?
I think it has applicant and property owner.
We can add applicant in there. It does have it in the sentence before. So we can say property and or property owner.
That's what I have on my original.
See, the thing is why it's not the applicant. We got to be careful because the applicant could disappear. The property owner will always be there. So we can always make the property owner remove because someone's going to own the property.
Okay.
So we can add that in without problem.
Okay. And then just finally, on paragraph 15, subparagraph B, there shall not be excessive lighting at any facilities. Who decides whether the lighting is excessive or not?
There's a few things about lighting in there. Paragraph 7 talks about lighting specifically that minimally required for safety and operational purposes.
Yeah.
And this comes also from the planning board. There'll be a lighting plan as part of the site plan and special permit review that they'll have to comply with. And if they don't comply with it, they will be, when it's constructed, it'll be reviewed by the building inspector and they will not be, their permit won't be closed out if it doesn't comply with the approval. And if it changes over time and doesn't comply with the lighting that was approved, they will be issued a summons and told to remove it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nick, anybody else waiting?
I don't see anybody else for the public hearing. Again, last call, please chat your name.
Paul, I did speak to the council for the council tonight, the council for Con Ed and also Con Ed today, and they were supposed to be on. I don't know where they are, but and we did receive the comments from the Environmental Conservation Board, and those comments we can put in easily and revise those definitions as proposed. I think they're good changes and good revisions to add to the law. There's no renoticing required for that. So we can put that in. But I did speak to them. They're still moving forward with this project. And there will be a landscape plan that will go to the planning board for approval, and we'll have to include native plantings, etc.
So it's my understanding that once it goes to the planning board, will there also be a public hearing there on the site
There will.
plan?
Yes.
So there's a lot of other details that may be able to be satisfied by other residents. You know, I've only had a couple emails from people asking questions about it. Pretty much those questions have been answered. But they do have the opportunity at the planning board level to ask other questions if they have it until they're satisfied. If the board doesn't have any questions, we could take a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smalley.
Second.
Danielle.
Got a tie there. I'm gonna give it to Zeno.
Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion
Aye.
carried. As far as approving resolution 200-20, permit solar facilities in the R20 district based on certain restrictions. Proposed local law 4-2020. I would need a motion and a second on that.
I so moved to approve the resolution, please.
That'll be as amended, the local law with the revisions from the Environmental Conservation Board
Right.
proposed.
Motion
Yep.
by Smalley.
I'll
Jerry,
second it.
Second by Ms. Schulman. All in favor?
Oh, aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the supervisor's report. Authorization for street closing permit. As you may know, we periodically get these street closing permits to allow individuals to have gatherings on their street with their neighbors. This particular one is for Saturday, June 13th, 4:30 to 6:30. It's the intersection of Aspen Way, Rolling Hills Road, towards 145 Rolling Hills Road from 119. That's house number 119. The applicant is Andrea Finan. So I need a motion and a second to approve that street closing permit.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Zeno. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is authorization to adopt the final COVID-19 return to work action plan. As you know, we did have a plan that the board had reviewed. There was some minor changes in it that civil service had asked us to change. It's just a matter of when they come in, when they enter town hall in the morning, they just basically give their name, and their name is checked off of a list that they are aware of the requirements, safety requirements. That's all. They had to make some changes on that. But that's the only difference in the return to work action plan. So 20220 will approve the updated return to work action plan.
Carl, I just had one question, please, on that.
Sure.
The unions objected to taking the temperature of the employees prior to coming into the building?
No, they were objecting to the question about whether their temperature was taken prior. And it was basically, all they're basically saying now is they don't want to sign something that could come back and haunt them. So basically, all they're saying, they're admitting that they're feeling well. They don't have a temperature. And we are checking them off. The greeter is checking them off and signing them in.
Okay,
So in other words, it's personal responsibility.
Yes.
Okay, they're signing off personal responsibility. They're feeling well and they can work.
Yep.
Okay.
and any guest that comes in, it's the same procedure?
That'll be on Friday. We start that on Friday. Everybody that comes in on Friday has to wear a mask, and they have to do the same thing. They'll be signing off, the ones on Friday.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
You want to make a motion on that, Tom?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for approval to adopt the COVID-19 return to work action plan, and real nice job. Thank you for putting that together with your team, and I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. I gotta give credit to Ian and Amanda on that one. Even David Smith contributed time to that also to make sure everything was done properly.
I'd like to
Terrific.
second, please.
Jerry, you got a second?
Yeah.
Woman,
Thank you again for the work.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, we're talking about greeters. We did have to hire 2 greeters that are basically for Monday through Thursday. They come in at 8 o'clock and they leave at noon. It's just to have somebody there to sign everybody in. So I think we settled on a salary of, what did we say? I think it was $22 an hour. They get no benefits or anything like that. It's strictly $22 an hour.
Monday through Thursday only, not Friday?
On Friday, there'll be a full day. And then we're gonna reassess this on Friday to see what we're gonna do next week.
I see, the full day because we're opening to the public on Friday, is that it?
Yes.
I see, okay.
So Monday through Thursday will be only the 4 hours each day, and then on Friday it'll be a full day. And then we're gonna reassess this and we'll discuss it with the board on Friday, where we're gonna go for next week.
Okay, understood.
We're not sure what kind of traffic we're gonna get and how we're gonna handle it, so.
And who would the greeters be? Are they people that from the community or health professionals?
People from the homeless shelter. No, I'm only kidding.
They need to work.
We're equal opportunity employer. No, actually,
Oh,
2 retired police officers.
Okay. All right, so I can go ahead and make a motion then, please. So move to
And
approve
Ms. Smalling?
hiring 2 greeters to be, okay, just to hire 2 greeters.
Motion by Ms. Smalling, second by Ms. Zano.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, as you know, as of today, outdoor dining is allowed in New York State. Darius and I have worked on some language, also with the building department, to allow some of our restaurants and other eateries to have outdoor dining. I think I did send it to everyone.
yeah,
Okay,
we got it.
so that, there'll be a permit, there'll be no cost for the permit, but the building department will review the situation to make sure it's safe, make sure it's not encroaching on somebody else's property, safe distance for tables and all those things. So we try to make it as simple as possible, but as safe as it has to be. So, this will allow this resolution will allow us to move forward with that permit and the process of opening up.
I'd like to. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom. You have a question?
I had just a question. This effective immediately, Carl, is it phase 3 or is it immediate?
Immediate.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, Jerry, sorry.
I'd like to move to approve, and I'd like to say thank you very much for not charging for permit. I think I'm very, very happy that our restaurants are going to be starting to open up, and any type of clientele they can get, any space outside they can use. They're so happy about that. So thank you, and I move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Showman.
Can I second it?
Sure you can.
And I just want to say that fabulous job in helping restaurants and entrepreneurs and being creative and innovative and taking immediate action to try to get some money back into the pockets of business people that are suffering. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we felt that they suffered long enough and
Yes.
add to that pain by charging them a fee for it. And I
Absolutely.
asked the building department to be as painless as possible in their process.
I know some restaurants have opened, have started outdoor dining. Have they all called for a permit?
Not yet, no.
Okay,
This is something we, in like, let's say Rose Hill, we allowed this up in Rose Hill before. But there was never really a formal process.
okay.
Now, because of the COVID situation, you have to have the safe distancing and all that. And, you know, brings in more of the sanitary features that we need to promote. So even though they did open, I know that up in Rose Hill, they kept the distance on the tables, which we have requested already. And that's what we'll be promoting as we move forward on
Very good, thank you.
it.
Thank you.
So did we vote?
Yes. Motion by
Me.
Jerry.
Jerry,
Gilman, second by Mr. Saliano.
10-4.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Very good, thank you.
Next item is authorization for the town supervisor to sign a new intermunicipal agreement with the county of Westchester for solid waste and recyclables disposals for refuse disposal district number 1 through October 2024. I think the last time we did it was 2009. What it does is they charge a fee per ton for dumping. Now, we pay our carter to pick up the stuff and dump it up in Peekskill. And the county charges us a tonnage fee. So that fee, I think, I'm trying to bring it up here, I think was it's $29.28 per ton through October 21st, 2024. And after that, it will be subject to an adjustment factor equal to the consumer price index for each year thereafter that the IMA remains in effect. This is what took place because the old IMA just carried through and the consumer price index was added on. So moving forward, it's $29.28 until October 21st, 2024. This will authorize me to sign it.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Zano,
Second.
Second,
second by Mr. Schulman. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization requested for unpaid maternity leave for Danielle Fairweather, the senior recreation leader.
I'd like to make a motion to,
As you may or may not know, she's very pregnant, but she's been a great addition to our recreation department. She anticipates coming back on September 24th. She'll be starting, I think it's, they're saying here between late June or early July. That specific time is to be determined when she'll be leaving.
I believe her, I won't say anything more, that's personal information. But I'll go ahead and ask to move the motion forward. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Ms. Zano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we talked about this last week, the LIRO mapping contract renewal. That's for our assessor's office. It's a renewal for their contract. Last year it was $11,330. This year it went to $11,669. That's from July 1st until June 30th, 2021. The services remain the same. The price just went up.
Move to approve, please.
Motion by Mr. Schulman,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we also discussed is authorization for the assessor's office to hire Sean Powers as an intern in the assessor's office. The rate will remain at $12 an hour. They don't have an exact stop time yet due to the situation with colleges, but this will authorize him to, when he can start without us having to worry about the timing of a meeting or something like that. So this will just approve Sean Powers to be hired at $12 an hour and the time of the start to be determined.
I'd like to move to approve. He's been an asset to the department. Heard great things about him, and be very happy to have him back with his knowledge over 2 years of being an intern in that department. So I'd like to move.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Showman,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Zano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next, let's see, we got one. Next 5 items are authorizations to correct tax bills. Some of the tax bills have to do with drainage district that we approved, which cemeteries are exempt from it, special district taxes. But I'll just go through one at a time. Authorization to correct the 2020 county town tax bill for National Trust properties. There's total of 12 parcels. Total refund amount is $8,186.67. The refund is because the tax has already been paid and it has to be refunded. So that's that one. Need a motion to refund that.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Showman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to correct the 2020 town county tax bill for 11 Palmer Lane West. They had to correct the tax bill. There was a refund needs to be issued of $405.28. That bill was already paid and the correction was made, so it has to be refunded for $405.28.
Make a motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to correct 2020 town county tax bill. Village of Pleasantville, 70 Pleasant Avenue. Canceling the bill for the above parcel. It's section block lot 106.5-1-45. The refund amount is $40.05. This bill was already paid, so it's a refund amount.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Schulman,
Second.
by Ms. Zano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item has to do with PepsiCo. Correct the 2020 town county tax bill, PepsiCo. PepsiCo is with the IDA, and I believe what happened, and Darius, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. The IDA actually collects the money and then pays the town. It's a payment in lieu of taxes. The amount is $77,887.75. Is that correct?
That's the number is from Jim, so it must be correct. And yes, you are correct on the IDA portion. It goes directly to the IDA, and then everyone gets paid, and it's under a pilot agreement that was negotiated a few years back. So there may have been Jim must have made some error that needed to be corrected.
All right, now I understand it. I remember.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't just pay the IDA directly. That we have to look into, but normal process, we get the IDA parcels that we're involved with. We receive a check from the property owner and then we pay the town.
Okay.
This could have been special district taxes, Carl. I didn't talk to Jim directly on this, but they pay special district taxes separately, and it's based on the assessed value. So that could have been it too, but I can follow up with Jim.
It's a big number for special district.
That it is.
So
That
we
is a
can
lot of
check
water.
on that.
You want to
Um,
approve it, and then we can go over it with Jim and
Yeah.
make sure we have the right information.
Definitely. I'll take a motion in a second on that.
Motion for approval?
Motion by Ms. Zano. You got a second?
I did. I seconded that.
There you go.
I just want to make sure that this is accurate, and because it is a lot of money, that it is checked into and made, accordingly. So,
When we do it subject to approval by the town supervisor and town attorney in consultation with the town assessor
Right.
You
There you
wanna
go.
add- You adding that to the,
to the motion.
are you adding that to the motion? Okay, now I'm
I would
okay.
propose that for you, yes.
okay. Thank you, Darius.
You're welcome.
Just to clarify, the town has already received this money from Pepsi.
Right.
And like I said, it should have gone through the IDA, but it didn't. So it's just a matter of retracing where it went and why it went that way and straightening that out for future payments. But the money is there, so.
Okay.
The last one on, I think it was the last one on.
Did we
the-
take a vote on that? Call, full, sorry.
No, we didn't.
Second by Mr. Showman. Everybody was in favor.
All right.
Aye.
Nobody opposed. Motion carries. Next one has to do with Kensico Cemetery. This one here, I did have a conversation with one of the managers over at Kensico Cemetery. This particular one, they were charged a special district tax, which by law they are exempt from. One thing he did offer though, he says if maybe they can offset it somehow. I don't remember exactly, it's not a lot of money, but could be a couple $1,000s. I'll see if that's on there. He did offer to make a donation to the town. And I said to him, I says, well, it wouldn't be bad if you could donate maybe to the Recreation Parks Foundation. So they're going to be looking into that. So instead of giving us the money that they would have given us for a drainage district, maybe we could send it over to the Parks Foundation.
That would be wonderful.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is our investment report. The interest right now is 1.7%. And we are open for business from the floor at this point.
Okay, thank you. Again, anybody that would like to speak during business from the floor, please message me your name and address or use the raise hand feature. We do have a few people lined up. The first is Margaret Kunzio.
The dog's gonna talk or she?
I'm not at the beach. I'm in my kitchen, but just wanted you to know that. I'm County Legislator Margaret Kunzio. I just wanted to give the town board an update on two projects, Commerce Street and Columbus Avenue. As many of you know, with Commerce Street, I was able to put in an additional $2 million as a capital budget amendment in December for the 2020 capital budget. For those that may not know listening at home, the county actually has three separate budgets. It's an operating budget, a capital budget, and a special district budget, which deals with sewers. So the capital budget deals with all of the capital projects, and we bond for all that money. So this is all bonded. It doesn't affect the tax base like the operating budget with the taxes that may or may not go up. That $2 million was presented to the Board of Legislators. It went through the Public Works and Budget Committee. It was voted out, and it was unanimously passed at the Board of Legislators meeting. So it is officially a done deal. The money is there. After speaking with Rich Banquet, the highway superintendent, who by the way became a grandpa this morning again, he said that he had a conversation with the county, and the county is planning on starting the Commerce Street project this year. Even with everything that's going on with the pandemic, they are proposing to start that project. I also wanted you to get a little update on the Columbus Avenue project, where they will be putting sidewalks in. They have started surveying that property. The bad news is, unfortunately, after speaking with DPW, even though they're starting the project, the county is expecting that project to take 279 days to complete. So they're starting the project, yes, but it's going to actually take a little longer than expected. So people start seeing the project coming in. I wanted you as a town board to be able to know that project will be a little longer. I'm expecting Commerce Street to also probably be as lengthy. The plans have been submitted. It's a complete redesign. There will no longer be a Y intersection. They're going to thank you, town board, for assisting with acquiring that piece of parcel land to enable this project to go forward. But I wanted to give everyone an update on those two projects. We are still meeting every week. We are still meeting via Zoom and remotely. We are still going on as business as usual at the county. But I also wanted just to take a moment to say thank you to Lori Smalley and Jerry Shulman. Lori, thank you for coordinating all the meals and working with some of our organizations in the county to assist them. Jerry, thank you for delivering the meals. And Danielle, I know you're on the hotline. So I just wanted to update everyone on that. And again, say thank you for everything that you're doing for the town of Mount Pleasant.
Thank you, Margaret. And please pass my thanks on to Neil Pallone and the Corrections Officers Benevolent Association. They were very instrumental in reaching out to families. We had a private donation to feed family meals for the month of May, weekly family meals, and they came in and took over and just took the burden off those of us who are working on other areas of feeding our neighbors. So thank you for that coordination. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. And as we all know, everybody is working together to help everybody that needs help. And I was really impressed. They reached out to me when they saw some of the things that we were doing as a town, and they said, we want to help. And they were all doing it on their own time.
Yeah.
So that's very important. They were volunteering their time and they were extremely organized, and they were there all the time on time to do that. So thank you guys again for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
It is.
All the best.
Margaret, thank you so much for securing the monies for those two projects. And I want to also say thanks to Pete Smalley, because he was there through it all. So thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he has been. My husband, sometimes, you know, after you've been married so many years, you don't recognize that person, but I do have to recognize him. He has been with me every step of the way here.
You do.
Margaret, one question. What
Yes.
else is going on Columbus Avenue? If it's not the sidewalk program, it looks like, is there drainage going in, or?
Yeah, they're doing drainage.
It's part of the sidewalk project. They have to make sure that the drainage is there, and they're surveying, they're doing everything. There is drainage involved in that project. For those of you that may not have known, that project that was voted out of the Board of Legislators is an $8.4 million project for Columbus Avenue.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So they're doing it soup to nuts with everything. They're starting on that. And it's also going to be nice. These are going to be very nice sidewalks. They're going to have the granite curbing. So they're taking the time to do it the right way. And the drainage is going to be very important, especially in front of Columbus Elementary School, as we've seen this past few months.
Mhm. Very good. I'm really pleased. I hope that the 279 additional days keep going by quickly.
I hope so too. So we're hoping that these projects get done. But again, my job is to make sure that the infrastructure on these roads is up to par for the town, and that's what I'm doing.
Very good. Thank
Great,
you.
great job. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you guys very much.
Well done.
Okay, the next person is Mr. Stefanov.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the supervisor for his statement regarding race relations in the country. To say and do nothing is to repeat the mistakes of the past. Over and over again, real change always starts at the local level. We in Mount Pleasant are especially lucky to have one of the preeminent museums of African American history located right here in our town on Broadway in Sleepy Hollow. Phillipsburg Manor demonstrates the 400-year presence of African Americans in New York and reminds us of the vast social, cultural, political, and economic significance all people of color have had on our unique fabric in our nation. Also, for parents who do not want their children's mind to turn to Jell-O during this long recess from school. HudsonValley.org has an award-winning interactive documentary, People Not Property, with revealing insight into colonial slavery through the stories of the enslaved, teaching how we reached the situation we are in today, and explains the most poignant and painful truths we must face if we are to move forward to a brighter future for all Americans and the world. The supervisor's letter was a first step. We all need to take a second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next person would be Ms. Kelsey Paget. You should be all set.
Hello. Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Kelsey Paget. I'm new-ish to town. I live on Bedford Road across from the Union Church. And I'm very new to local politics. This is my first meeting to watch or attend. But I really, I was moved to attend this meeting and to pay attention to local politics because of the heinous loss of life that's happening in our country and Black communities at the hands of the police. And as Mr. Stefanov says, I'll echo that. We can act locally to make changes that'll stop that. So, you know, there's lots of different ways, small, not small things, but less invasive measures such as banning chokeholds, making the use of force policy public, and that way that's available online so that people can look and scrutinize that as citizens of Mount Pleasant. And then we can go on to changing budgets, taking money away from police departments and putting them towards other social services. The idea that if you are facing someone with a mental health crisis and perhaps you could make a phone call to someone specifically trained for that and they would show up instead of a police officer who's got 1,000 jobs. We're asking far too much of the police. And so in that light, I just wanted to come forward as a citizen and ask, what are we doing as a town, or what will we do to ensure that Black Americans are not murdered by the police? Thank you.
Thank you. I know that our police department has ongoing programs. They started a new program before each shift goes out. They have a conversation with the officers before they go out. They update them on, especially like this particular case now with this loss of life, reminding officers what they can and cannot do. I know that the chief has been working with his staff on different policies. I don't know where he's at that yet, but I know that he's working on it because he gave me an email today on that they're reviewing different policies and procedures. So I know that he is very serious about it and very concerned about moving forward to making sure that keep our officers safe and our public safe.
I believe Mr. Noonan would like to speak for business from the floor.
Good evening. Just getting back to the local law that was voted on earlier regarding the solar arrays. My neighbor, Miss Senti, just yesterday sent a long and detailed letter regarding this proposed law, and I didn't hear it mentioned at all this evening. And I just wondered, did you all discuss her letter and all the points that she made, and was that factored into your decision making this evening?
Actually, Mr. Noonan, I'm going to go ahead and speak first, only because I probably spent at least a half an hour, if not longer, reading Laura Senti's letter. The one particular point that I was interested in was the area where she indicated that there might be other parcels within the town of Mount Pleasant that are 10 acres plus that a solar array can be placed in. It was interesting to me that she had mentioned public school district and private properties. I don't believe any of them have ever made an application, and I can ask the supervisor, correct me if I'm wrong, to utilize their property for a solar array. And I can ask the attorney, I don't believe it's our position, I don't believe it's our place to go to those facilities or those property owners that she mentioned and ask them if they would consider a solar array. So I'm wondering if you know anything more about what her intention was in that particular point of her letter to us, in that particular paragraph.
I don't, but, you know, I think that maybe some discussion should have taken place with her prior to you passing this thing.
I think that's why we received a letter from her, because the supervisor had opened up comments from the floor. And if you're not able to do that through Zoom or phone, you were able to send in comments. And I believe that's what you did.
Yeah, but if you had a question about it, why didn't you contact her and then get things settled before you had your vote? Now you've gone ahead and voted.
Actually, I spoke to the supervisor prior to the meeting in regard to that. I mean, my feelings didn't, about that one particular issue, did not change my vote to be in favor of the change. But you actually brought it up, so I thought perhaps you had more insight into what her thoughts are and what her questions would be.
No, I just saw it shortly before the meeting myself, but I just wondered why it wasn't brought up at the meeting.
I can only speak for myself.
I did thoroughly read the letter from Ms. Senti. She always asks good questions. She has good insight. And I feel that we address most of this in our decision-making process. And also other issues will be discussed at the planning board level.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would note that the school properties, Mr. Supervisor, the Valhalla School property, the DEP property, and the Westchester County property are likely not subject to our zoning.
Yeah, I know the school is definitely not.
Not subject to
Yeah.
our zoning.
School wants to do something, they don't have to ask the town to do it. They just do it through the state education department.
Like I said before, there's not many properties in the town of Mount Pleasant that would give up this amount of land for solar generation where there's such a need for the property for other purposes. Do you have anybody else on?
I believe that's all at this time.
Okay. We can move on to our town clerk's agenda. Susan?
Town Clerk's Agenda, June 9th, 2020, Town Board Meeting. Public hearing, continuation of public hearing to amend zoning text to permit solar facilities in R20 District, Local Law Number 4, 2020. Received Supervisor and Registrar's Report for May 2020. 1 Planning Board Resolution, Service Enriched Senior Housing Floating Zone, Zoning Amendment Referral. Received 1 claim, Broadwing Communications et al. Versus State of New York. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Item C would be referred to our town attorney.
Actually, according to Jim, it's just something we hold on to because
Okay.
they're not actually suing the town. But this company just wants us to know that they're suing the state of New York.
All right. I would imagine we'd have a copy of this in the town attorney's office anyway.
Well, I have a copy if he needs it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can send it to me, Susan. That'd be great. I'll take a look at it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to council reports, Councilman Schuman.
Yes, good evening to Mount Pleasant. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. It's my pleasure this evening to present the Comptroller's Memo, Resolution 214-20. And I'm doing this by department and vendor. I'd like to begin with Justice Court, Carl R. Anderson, $1,950. Supervisor, JT Graphics Inc., $528. Receiver of taxes, Software Consulting Associates Inc., $950. Town Clerk, General Code Publishers Corp., $1,195. Building Town Hall, Apple Maintenance Services Inc., $6,680. Off-street parking, Midwestchester Lawn Service Inc. and New York State Department of Transportation, $4,940. Information Services, Pleasantville Community Television, $2,400. Central Garage, Syntech Systems Inc., $1,353.12. Public Safety, Syntech Systems Inc. and John Bacardi, $9,013.13. General Repairs, Expanded Supply Products Inc., Peckham Industries Inc., and Glencoe Supply Inc., $8,208.50. Valhalla Refuse District, Ramos and V Tree Service and Landscaping, $600. Mount Pleasant Refuse District, Ramos and V Tree Service and Landscaping, $2,400. Joint Water District Fund, Hawk Chemical Company, $2,342.10. Old Farm Hill Water District, H.O. Penn Machinery Company, Inc., $1,679.38. Mechanical Water District Number 1, D Block Environmental Services, LLC, $15,050. And finally, Kensico Water, D Block Environmental Services, LLC, $15,050. And the grand total this evening for the Comptroller's report is $74,339.23. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Schulman,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have nothing for Mr. Saliano and Ms. Smalley. Moving on to Councilwoman Zeno.
Good evening. I have one purchase order from the Highway Department tonight. That is purchase order 50-20-12. This is for concrete curbing on Eastview Drive. There's approximately 511 linear feet. In addition to that, there was installation of new drainage and restoration. This was done because the curbing needed to be replaced. It was collapsing, so it became sort of an emergency situation. The cost of this purchase order is $15,000. Move for approval.
Motion by Ms. Zeno,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't believe we have anything for our town attorney this evening.
Nothing, Mr. Supervisor.
The schedule of meetings, the next work session will be Tuesday, June 16th at 7 p.m. Business session, Tuesday, June 23rd at 8 p.m. Just a reminder, there seems to be a competition going on about the census. Everybody's trying to get the higher percentage of census respond. So we're a little behind what we were last time in 2010. So I would urge anyone you know that did not fill out their census to get them to do that. We want to be the big winner on this one. It's especially at a time like this with the economy the way it is. Whatever funding we can guarantee to the town and state is a plus for the town. If there be no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Zano. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.